Hey guys, welcome back to Wanderlusting Lawyer. Sorry about the angle today, and for a little bit of movement, you might feel like you're on a boat. I'm holding a selfie stick because I will be turning around the camera to show you guys a website. But today I'm going to be talking about my recent experience flying into Spain. On June 21st, I left the US and arrived in Barcelona on June 22nd. Unfortunately, it wasn't to do a Camino this time, though hopefully next summer. But I was going to spend 2 weeks in France with my wife's family. And I personally always try to fly into Spain when I'm going to Europe. Really, no matter where I'm going, I think Madrid and Barcelona have the two best airport experiences I've had really anywhere throughout Europe. I've flown into Frankfurt, Paris, London, Lisbon, probably some others, but Madrid and especially Barcelona, I highly recommend trying to fly into those airports if you can. You can really transit just about anywhere else in Europe, but I've never waited more than like 5 minutes at immigration. They run really efficiently. I've never seen them on strike. So highly recommended. But yeah, I flew into Barcelona and I want to talk to you guys about the experience and make sure you don't make mistakes as you're planning your travel for your summer Caminos or fall Caminos. Obviously, this information is current as of June 21st when I flew. It seems that all the regulations are still the same, but you'll want to double check. But hopefully this will help you as you're doing your planning. So I flew with American, so some of this information will be unique to them, but others will be, for anyone flying to Spain. Prior to flying, I downloaded the Verifly app. I'm not sure if other airlines use this app, but it allows you to upload your vaccine card as well as your passport, so that everything is checked before you get to the airport and you get your boarding pass. If you're only flying with a carry-on, that's great because you just get to bypass the check-in and go straight to security and, straight to security and then to your boarding gate. But when I checked in, I was checking a bag, and so I still needed to show my passport, but I didn't have to show my vaccine card and the other stuff because it was all there in Verifly. I also did not need to take a COVID test because I am fully vaccinated. If you're not, you probably do need to take a COVID test. I'm not sure though, you'll need to double check that. And one thing to make note of is that if you've only had 2 shots, the Spanish government requires the second shot to have happened no later than 270 days ago. So what is that, about 9 months? That limit goes away if you've had a booster. So even if you had your booster a year ago, that's okay. And that's all confirmed on the website I'm going to show you guys in a second. But just, keep that in mind. The next important piece of the puzzle is getting a QR code. So this is probably doesn't apply to too many people, but if you have already generated an EU COVID certificate, then you don't need to do anything else. I already have the French one from prior travels in France, and that one is valid. So I wouldn't have needed to generate the QR code that you may have seen other people talk about. I did anyway, just because I always like to be doubly sure that I'm doing the right thing. And also I remembered from my trip to Spain last summer that there were 2 lines when you got to the airport, one for the EU valid certificates and one for the US-based certificates. And I had sort of a tight window before I was catching my train to France. So I wanted to make sure that, I was covered either way. How do you get the QR code? People freak out about this. It's extremely simple. So this is where I'm going to turn on the camera. Well, I guess I can't actually flip my camera. What I'm going to do is this. Hopefully you guys can see this website. I'm peeking over. Yeah, it looks like you can see this. This shows how tech savvy I am. So this is the website, spth.gov.es. And you'll come down here and you'll click, if you do not have an EU digital COVID certificate or EU equivalent, click here to access. You'll pick, you can get a lot of information in English. It's really useful. You'll pick the form if you're flying as a family or group or individual. I'll just show you the individual form. And then you put in surname is your last name, your first name, your passport number, your flight number, your arrival date, your email twice. and then you'll submit this. But it's not over at this point. I can't submit the form because I don't have a flight. But just keep in mind that there's a second page. I remember because I had to put in my seat number. So you'll need to have, well, technically you need to have a seat number to do the form, but I actually had my seat number end up changing later on in the flight. Nobody asked me about that. Nobody looked at that. I suppose if there's like a COVID outbreak on the flight, maybe that's something that they look at, but I didn't have a problem with changing seats after I filled out this form. Guys, make sure you do this. And don't think if you can check in at the airport, you're on. If you haven't done this, you're fine. My flight was from Philly to Barcelona, and I was talking to a flight attendant. I think he said something like 40 or 50 people were denied access to the plane, were denied boarding because they did not have the code. So you want to make sure you do this. It doesn't take a long time. The code, if I recall correctly, was instantly generated. You can add it to your Apple Wallet. Oh, I should mention, there's also an app, SPTH app, that I believe you can do the same stuff in. I just did it on the computer, but that should give you the same code. And also get to your gate early. The gate was a mess. They were re-verifying the documents of everybody, maybe because they knew that when people were checking in, it wasn't all getting verified. But we had to re-show our passports, our QR code. I can't remember if we had to show our vaccine cards or just like if you had already registered in Verify, I think you just had to show the Verify approval message. But they were doing that for everybody. So get there early, get that taken care of so that they give you I think it was like a red check or something with a red marker on your boarding pass. Because they were not waiting. The passengers who didn't have this, who were trying to fill out the paperwork to get the QR code, they were not waiting for them. They closed the doors and we left, and a lot of the plane was empty actually. So just make sure you do that, guys. When arriving to the airport, at least if you're arriving to Barcelona, this is how it was. There are so you'll clear immigration, then you will proceed to the baggage check area, but you'll be directed. In our case, we went right, and there were two lines. One line was for anyone with the EU, the Spain QR code or any EU equivalent, and then the other was for the non-EU equivalent, which would be for most people traveling from the US, Canada, etc. When I told them I had the French one, they sent me to the left line. And there was a gentleman at the end, but he just waved me through. He didn't even look at it, didn't scan it, nothing. The right lane, because I know that's the lane I was in last year when I traveled, they do verify all the information. And so if I would recommend if you have any tight connections, like with a train or whatever, hustle to the baggage claim because that line probably, with a 200 passenger plane, probably does tend to get longer. But both times I've been there, they have been verifying information with the people that have the non-EU QR code. A couple of the things on American Airlines, no masks were required, but apparently masks are still required in airports, train stations, and trains, taxis, basically transportation in Spain. I'm not sure if that'll be changing soon, maybe not, because the COVID rates are rising again, but I actually didn't know. I didn't wear a mask in the airport in Barcelona, and nobody said anything to me, which was surprising. I did have masks just in case. And then it wasn't until I got in the taxi that the driver very politely mentioned that it was still required. And then this was interesting when I was on the train. So the train left Barcelona and was going into France. Nobody had their masks on. The people who worked on the train walked through the train, told us we needed to wear masks while we were in Spain, made an announcement as well. And then when we crossed into French territory, made another announcement saying we had the choice to wear them or not. So I thought that was pretty interesting that they were not that they were respecting the rules, but even for just that, when you're in a confined space in a train, but in Spanish territory, they were still enforcing it. So make sure you have masks. And just know that travel is back to normal. Normal in the sense of travel headaches, full planes, full train stations, Barcelona train station is notorious for having hugely long lines. They put your bag through like security, so also make sure you get there in time to do that, and just be prepared to wait to be in a long line as you're getting onto the train. So I think that covers everything. If I missed anything, please leave a question below. I hope that's helpful, and I hope this helps you de-stress a little as you're planning your travel to Spain. Obviously, this is all changing all the time. So once again, this is current as of June 22nd, 2022. But I hope that helps, and I hope you guys are having great summers, and of course, muy buen camino.